So we construct a B, but we refer to it as an A, and then we delete it. So let's see what happens. So do this all the time. Right, so first it was constructed here. So the construction is no there's no problem there. A will be called first to allocate A resources, and then B constructor will be called second to allocate B resources. But when we delete B, because it is referred to as an A, only the destructor of A is called. And whatever you allocate here will not be called, and you will have a memory leak. So it is vital to always declare the destructor virtual. In fact, there is no reason not to. When you declare a constructor virtual, and when you create a new class, have a habit of always declare the destructor virtual, even if there is no derived class, right? Because in the real world, you can create a library, and someone can derive classes from your existing class, and you want your class to be smart enough to call the destructor of the derived classes instead of its own. So when you do your assignment, always do this. Even if there is nothing that inherits the class, always do virtual destructor. That's what. So here, where else? Right, this is probably some summary. So the constructors are called from top to bottom, and the destructors are called from bottom up. The destructor will not be called automatically if the object is dynamically allocated like this. In this case, if I don't call B, the destructor will never be called. So the memory will, when the program goes out of scope, the operating system will still reclaim the memory. But let's say you have something else down here, you want your memory to be clean rather than having something that shouldn't be there. So if it is a pointer, always use the keyword delete. See, yes, you still have some issue. Right, so something for you to remember. So constructors and destructors are special functions of a class. They cannot be inherited. They cannot be overwritten. But the constructor cannot be virtual, because when you construct something, you must use the keyword new and the actual name of the object. Right? So new circle equals shape something, but you always use the keyword new with the actual type. So there is no possibility of making it virtual. But the destructor can and should always be virtual. Have a habit of making it virtual all the time. All right. So yesterday, someone asked me about this question. When you have a base class and you publicly inherit base class in a derived class, and the base class has a bunch of public variables, is there any way to inherit everything public except for some? Right? So it turns out there is a way. This is it. So you still publicly inherit base in the derived. So naturally, all of these will still come to the scope of derived as public variables. But you say private using base x to say, hey, right, everything else is public except for x. So x is from now on private. And if you have a derived second that derives from derived, that one will not inherit x. So yeah, that was a good question. And let's run this. Right, so what happens when I click the run button? I have a base. So base has all of these variables public, so there's no problem here. And then I have derived. Derived say everything else is public except for x. And then I try to do this. The compiler will complain, it will not compile. Like that. It will say, because x is now a private member of derived. Right? It will not compile. However, if I represent D as a base, so I have an object D of type derived, and I say base sec D, right, equals D, and I call sec D, no problem. I have that object of type derived, which theoretically I shouldn't have access to X at all, but if I dress it up as a base, then I can still do everything I can with the base. So even though this is possible, it's not a good idea. You make it private, but there is a way for your user to simply convert it to something that they can access. So this is not a good idea. If you want something to be private, make it private in the base. All right. So, is there any other questions before we end the lecture? No. Okay, good. Have a good tutorial tomorrow, and enjoy the break. And we will see after the break. Again, if I have time during the break, I will mark your test. But if I don't, then it's going to be a little bit longer than 2 weeks.
This one?